Today, we're going to unpack a case that absolutely shook a nation and exposed a dark, twisted underworld that was operating in plain sight. We're talking about the Pollachi predator ring, and at its core is a really chilling but simple truth. And that idea, it is at the absolute heart of this story. It's about the betrayal of trust and the horrifying reality that can hide behind faces you think you know. For hundreds of women, that reality started to unravel on one very specific day. So picture this. It's February 12th, 2019, in the town of Pollachi. A 19-year-old college student is just standing by the side of the road waiting for a friend. The decision she makes to get into his car is going to trigger a chain of events that exposes a massive crime syndicate that had been preying on women for years. To really understand the true scale of this crime, we have to start small. We have to start with one person's story, and it begins with the betrayal of a young woman who we're going to call Priya. So Priya was waiting for Sabari Ranjan. This was a guy she'd met on social media, and they'd built up a rapport. He'd called her up, saying they needed to talk about something important, face to face. When he pulls up, though, he's got another friend with him, Thirunovakarosu. And Priya feels that flicker of doubt, that bad gut feeling that something's just off. But she ignores it. She thought she could trust them.
She was so tragically wrong. After a short drive, the car stops and two more men climb in, trapping her. What happened next was just a horrifying assault. They overpowered her, stole her jewelry, and as this attack is unfolding, one of them holds up a phone and records everything. When it's over, they literally push her out of the moving car and just speed away. But why record it? The answer shows you just how calculated and cruel their whole plan really was.
You see, that recording, it wasn't just some sick trophy. No, it was a weapon. That video was their leverage. It was the tool they were going to use to make sure Priya stayed silent and did whatever they said. By threatening to release this humiliating footage, they could demand money, and even worse, they could force her into future sexual encounters. This was just the start of a horrific cycle of blackmail. So for nearly 2 weeks, Priya lived in this nightmare that they created, totally silenced by fear and by shame. Their whole system was designed to be unbreakable. So what broke it? Well, the answer didn't come from the police. It came from right inside Priya's own family. It took an act of incredible bravery from her and an act of absolute loyalty from her brother to finally blow this case wide open. After 12 days of just pure torment, Priya finally broke her silence. She confessed everything to her older brother. And he didn't judge her. He took action. He tracked down 2 of the assailants, confronted them, and he grabbed Sabari Ranjan's phone with just one goal in mind: find the video of his sister and delete it. But when he opened the gallery, he found something so much more sinister. It wasn't just Priya. There were videos of other women, all trapped in the exact same nightmare. With this horrifying discovery, Priya's brother realized this was way bigger than a one-time assault. This was an organized ring. He went straight to the police, and on February 24th, a formal complaint was filed. The investigation was officially on. The police moved fast. They made arrests, and as they started digging into the phones of the accused, the true horrifying scale of this operation started to emerge. What they uncovered was a well-oiled machine of predation. The investigation ultimately revealed this whole network of 9 men. And this gets right to the heart of the deception. I mean, these weren't shadowy figures from the underworld. These were regular guys: a civil engineer, a financier, business owners, even a local political party official. Men who were embedded in the community, using their respectable facades to hide these monstrous activities. And the number of their victims? Police estimated it was as high as 200. 200. This wasn't some small-time crime. This was an epidemic. And the victims came from all walks of life: students, teachers, doctors, nurses, all systematically targeted over a period of years. And their method was just chillingly systematic. They used social media to find and groom their targets. The main contact, Sabari Ranjan, would build trust, often faking a whole relationship. Then he'd lure the woman to an isolated place, like a farmhouse, where the rest of the gang was waiting. The assault, the recording, the blackmail, it was a repeatable, horrifying formula. Okay, so exposing the gang was one thing, but bringing them to justice? That was another battle entirely. This case put not just the criminals on trial, but the very systems in our society that allow them to get away with it.
The biggest hurdle was victim testimony. So many were terrified of the social shame of having their identities revealed. And this fear was completely justified. Early in the case, a police official actually leaked Priya's name to the media. Unbelievable. Yet, despite all of that, the prosecution built an absolutely ironclad case. They had over 400 pieces of digital evidence, hundreds of documents, and, crucially, 8 brave survivors and 48 other witnesses who came forward to testify.
But the road to justice was a marathon, not a sprint. For 6 long years, this case moved through investigations, court hearings, and delays, all while the survivors and their families just had to wait. It really took relentless pressure from the public and the media to make sure this fight for a verdict wasn't forgotten. And then, finally, the verdict came down. All 9 members of the Pollachi predator ring were found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. After a long, painful wait, justice was served. But the story doesn't really end with a prison sentence. This case held up a mirror to society, and it forced a really difficult conversation about why these crimes happen and why they so often go unreported. And this right here, this reveals the gang's most powerful weapon. It wasn't a knife or a gun, it was social shame. They banked on the fact that society too often blames the victim, asking about her clothes, her character, why was she there in the first place? This culture of victim blaming is what creates the prison of silence that allows predators like this to thrive.
Look, this case was broken open because one victim found the courage to speak and one family member chose to believe her without question. The verdict delivered legal justice, absolutely, but true justice requires a cultural shift. So the final question, it isn't just for the courts, it's for all of us. What can we do to dismantle the shame and silence and build a world where every survivor's voice can finally be heard?